6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. And suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it's good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud, a voice said, "This is my son, the beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Tell no one about the vision until after the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Pray with me. Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. You are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So what on earth is this about? Peter, James, and John go with Jesus up a high mountain, and Jesus, his face shines like the sun. He turns dazzling light. So what on earth is this? Jesus is a lawgiver like Moses who appears with him. Jesus is a prophet like Elijah. So what on earth? A voice from a cloud? "This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him." So what? I mean, really, so what? I mean, you're tuning out already out there, I can tell. I can tell. So give me another chance. I think this is one of the best stories in the Gospels. Maybe the best story in the Gospel. Now, because of what I do, I'm allowed to have a lot of favorites. You are too, but this is definitely one of them. But it wasn't always so. It was not always the case that this was one of my favorite stories. In fact, I used to avoid this story. Like I said, it comes up every Sunday right before the beginning of Lent. You can't avoid it. It's in the list of texts to be read. But I would avoid it. I mean, what do you do with this? This is like, it's a miracle story. It's like an amazing miracle. And what does it mean? Does it mean that Jesus is like the new Moses? Jesus is the new lawgiver? Jesus is the new prophet? Is that what it's about? Is that all it's about? But mostly it was, what do you do with this dazzling white stuff? What do you do with this face shining like the sun? I mean, you're all products of the Enlightenment. You know, you all do science. This is like an amazing story. What do you do with this? What really happened? Was it a miracle? I mean, what really happened there? So I would sort of duck it. Nobody knew. I would just skip over it until I was reading this article by another preacher who was having a similar problem with what do you say about the Transfiguration. And he was better read than I, because you talked about reading by accident, he said, a monk, an Egyptian monk, centuries and centuries and centuries ago, who was writing about the Transfiguration. And he asked the same question that we ask. What happened? Did a miracle happen here? And he answered the question, yes, a miracle happened. And we said, oh, well, of course he said that. We all know ancient people were much more likely to believe in whatever, in miracles and amazing things happening. Actually, the truth is, ancient people were pretty much as skeptical as we are about such things. But anyway, he said, yes, a miracle happened. Then he went on to say, but the miracle is not what you and I would say the miracle is. He said, did Jesus shine with an unearthly light? Was there this dazzling light shining from his face? And the monk said, well, yes. He said, of course, but that's not the miracle. The monk said, of course Jesus shone with an unearthly light. He was the second person of the Trinity. He's the Son of the living God. Of course, light shone wherever Jesus went. Light shone from a manger in Bethlehem. Light shone at a wedding in Cana. Light shone when Jesus healed a blind man. There was always light there. But that's not the miracle. That's not the miracle in the story. The miracle in the story is that these 3 disciples saw it. That's the miracle. They've been following him over hill and dale for months, years maybe. But they saw it. They saw for the first time the light of the world as he really is. That's what the monk said. That's what the monk said. And then he went on to say that when Peter and James and John came down from the mountain, they would never see anything the same way again. Because of that dazzling light of the world that they had suddenly realized had been there all along, except they hadn't seen it. So what? So what about this story? Well, so what? So you and I are invited to see the world in the light of the light of the world. And if we do, we might find out that the world is not the place we've always thought it to be. You know, lately we've been taught to see the world as sort of like a machine. There's an explanation for everything. There's a scientific explanation, and a lot of this we know now. We can explain how things work in the world. And the things that we haven't explained yet, we're pretty sure that science is going to tell us exactly how they work. And that's fine. And that's good. But to think that, therefore, everything's been explained, or will be, therefore there is no wonder, there is nothing, no mystery, that doesn't do justice to science, much less to life as we know it. I was reading some physics the other day, and the world is actually a rather amazing place. You know, atoms, we all know what atoms are, right? Everything's made of atoms, and atoms are 99.9% empty space with, these particles, electrons and such whizzing around, but they're 99.9% empty space. And if you took all the empty space out of all the atoms in all of creation, everything that wasn't empty space would fit inside a sugar cube. That's pretty amazing. That means there's an awful lot of empty space out there. That means this communion table, it seems pretty firm, is mostly empty space. It's just a little less empty than the air around it. But everything is mostly empty space. 99.9% empty space. Rob Bell, the preacher, Rob Bell says, that means that just maybe the difference between, what we see as solid and what we see as not solid isn't as great as what we think. And just maybe the difference between what we think of as real and firm, what we think of as matter, maybe the difference between that and what's spiritual, maybe they're not so far apart either. So the world is a much more amazing place than we realize. And if you look at the world in the light, it just might appear a little bit differently. A little bit differently than we think. The truth is, the universe is still a mysterious and amazing place. You remember when you were a kid, how you'd lie down on your back and you'd look up at the stars, and you'd know that from your fourth grade science class, that the stars just keep on going and keep on going, the universe just keeps on going, and it doesn't have an end. But you'd say, well, what's beyond the end that never comes, and how does that work? And in the end, you just wonder, why do we stop doing that? Why do we stop doing that? the world is still a mysterious, amazing place. And there's plenty of room. Plenty of room for science and plenty of room for God. I was holding Owen Maurice this week. That's one of the perks of my job, is that when Jill is here, often I get to hold Owen while she's doing something else. So I sort of encourage her to do other things. And I look at Owen and I start using that voice that I reserve for babies. Many of us have that voice. Where does that come from? And often, I say the same thing, but often, look at those tiny fingers. I mean, I've known babies have tiny fingers for many years now. But there's still something incredible about it. I mean, are we getting in touch with our own humanity, with the idea of, gosh, I was this small once? Or is it just this amazement at the gift of life? So I'm looking at this beautiful little face, looking back at me, who isn't really quite sure whether he should smile or fuss, but lots of times he smiles. I almost see a little dazzling light reflecting off his face. If you look in the light, everything looks different. A glass of apple juice. Simple glass of apple juice. That's all it is. Who thinks about it? It's not even my favorite. I like orange juice better. But apple juice. When a friend finished his long regimen of chemotherapy, couldn't taste anything for weeks. Wondered if he'd ever taste anything again. And it was a glass of apple juice. At first tasted good again. So for him, apple juice is communion wine. Apple juice is way more than just apple juice. Apple juice is a sign of living again. The homeless guy that you've seen outside of McDonald's for weeks, always there. Finally, you do the thing where you go up to him and you say, "What would you like to eat? I'll buy it for you." And you go in and you get him this Big Mac or whatever it is, and you come out and you give it to him and you're about to walk away. And you say, "Well," and you don't even plan to do this. You say, "Tell me, what's your name?" And he says, "Philip." You say, "Well, Philip, God bless you. My name is..." And you walk away, and there's something different because now you know his name. And when you drive by that McDonald's, and you see him there, as he still is there, but now he's Philip. He's not the homeless guy, he's Philip. And you realize that everybody you see, whether they're on an overpass or on the TV screen or whatever, any person in need, they have a name. They're somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's father, somebody's sister. And they look a little bit different. Maybe there's just a little bit of that dazzling light shining around. Everything looks different in the light. I remember once, many years ago, watching the news, and it was one of those times where you're just overwhelmed by human need, this crisis, that crisis, hunger, refugee, poverty, whatever, overwhelmed, and turning off the TV and thinking, thank God you don't turn off the TV. Maybe I can't deal with this overwhelming need anymore, but you don't turn away. Lord, you don't turn the TV off. We're building a church here. We want to turn this room into something that's a little more beautiful, that looks more like a sanctuary. Sanctuary, that means holy place. Why do we want to do that? Why do we want to do it? Well, there's something about beauty that lifts the soul to God. There's something about beauty, whether it's in a flower, whether it's in a baby's face, whether it's in a place like this, that will lift our souls to God. But are we creating this place? This is like a holy place. This is where God is. We all know this isn't the only place where God is. But this is the place we come to remind ourselves to look for God in all places. We come to this place to remember to look for God in all places. So is this place holy? It absolutely is. But it reminds us that all places are holy. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, in a poem, referred to the Moses story. The Moses is in the desert and he sees the burning bush that's not burning up. And he hears the voice of God saying, "Take off your shoes, for this is holy ground." Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote this poem. She wrote, "Earth is crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit around it and pluck blackberries." Every bush is a burning bush. Every piece of ground is holy ground. You see it in the light. But most of the time, we're picking blackberries. Earth is crammed with heaven, he said, but most of the time, we're looking to someplace else. So today, I encourage you to look at something, some place, someone that you often see, but really look at them. Really look at them. And see if maybe you've missed something. See if maybe there's something more there. Maybe a little bit of a reflection of a light that dazzles. Pray with me. Lord, give us the eyes to see, the eyes to truly see all that is around us. For Christ's sake, for the world's sake, and for our own sakes. Amen.